is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Tonight's top stories. In the Philippines, former Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea refuted claims of a gentleman's agreement on the West Philippine Sea between former President Rodrigo Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Meanwhile, Senate Majority Leader Francis Tolentino confirmed that 15 senators have signed to install Senator Chiz Escudero as the new Senate President. Escudero admitted initiating steps to remove Zubiri from the Senate presidency. Also in the headlines, the ICC Prosecutor seeks arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister and several Hamas leaders. In response, U.S. President Joe Biden meanwhile denounced the ICC's move, saying there's no genocide or equivalence between Israel and Hamas. And the leaders of the UAE extended their condolences following the tragic death of the Iranian President and several high-ranking officials in a helicopter crash this past weekend. I'm Franco Baranda. Newsline World starts now. The DILG supports filing appropriate cases against former officials of the Tarlac provincial government and its police after a large pogo hub was discovered in Bamban, Tarlac. This hub was shut down due to illegal activities uncovered within the building. Paul Montibon filed this report.
Secretary of the Interior.
The Office of the Interior Secretary Benhar Abalos admits its limited power in disciplining local officials involved in illegal activities or operations. According to the agency, only the Ombudsman has the authority to decide on the appropriate punishment for government officials. In an interview with Defense Secretary Gilberto Doro, he stated that Tarlac officials and their chiefs of police must be held accountable for allowing the pogo operation in the area. The DILG supports this stance and emphasizes that they are ready to file complaints against Tarlac officials if necessary.
Walang kapangyarihan ang DILG na mag-preventive suspension. Wala kaming kapangyarihang mag-dismiss ng tao. Wala kaming kapangyarihang mag-suspindi ng tao maski mag-reprimand. Kasi people are expecting. Kaya nga ang ginawa namin dito, nag-task force na lang kami at nirekomenda namin ito. Ito yung 7-man team na yung findings namin ay binigay namin sa Office of the Ombudsman for it's up to them kung gusto nilang kunin o kung hindi ito. But if they want us to file a complaint, walang problema. We will file a complaint for them, against them.
This issue arose when a large pogo operation in Bamban, Tarlac was discovered collecting millions of pesos through widespread scamming. As a result, the Bamban LGU and former Tarlac provincial officials were implicated for allowing the pogo to operate in the area. They have formed a 7-man task force in coordination with the Office of the Solicitor General and other government agencies. One of the investigation targets is Mayor Alice Go's involvement in pogo operations. The DILG has also recommended suspending Mayor Go during the ongoing investigation against her. Currently, the DILG has completely removed control over the police force from Bamban Mayor Alice Go. According to Abalos, this removal of Go's authority over the police follows questions about her nationality and alleged possible connections to the illegal activities of pogo within her jurisdiction.
I have instructed the Polcom to initiate proceedings for the withdrawal of the mayor's deputization. Ibig sabihin nito, pagkatapos nga ng investigasyon nito, of course may sufficient grounds, we will withdraw the deputization of Mayor Go. As a consequence, all the privileges attached thereto are revoked immediately, including its control and supervision of its local police.
For government country, the Philippines, reporting Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
The reactivation rate of the local price coordinating council, which aims to monitor the price of basic commodities amid the imminent La Nina phenomenon, is at 87% according to the DTI. On the other hand, the agency reported that 5 major manufacturers indicated to implement a voluntary price freeze. Creslin Catarong has the report.
Amidst the looming La Nina phenomenon in the country, the government will further tighten its price monitoring of essential commodities nationwide. The Department of Trade and Industry continues to closely monitor price manipulation and other illegal activities such as hoarding. During a public briefing this Tuesday, DTI Consumer Protection Group Assistant Secretary Attorney Amanda Nograles mentioned that among the agency's initiatives is coordinating with local government units to reactivate the Local Price Coordinating Council for price monitoring. Through this, DTI will have partners at the LGU level in monitoring the prices of goods. The reactivation rate of the Local Price Coordinating Council nationwide is now at 87%.
We were advised na over 1,000 po ang reactivated na LPCC. Hindi pa po siya fully operational. So from our understanding, kapag na-reactivate na po lahat, magiging operational na po yan, magiging katulong natin sila sa pagmomonitor ng presyuhan sa mga supermarkets, grocery stores, at saka kasama na rin po ang mga palengke.
In line with this, DTI ensured that those manipulating the prices will be apprehended and charged accordingly. Meanwhile, Nograles mentioned that several manufacturers have hinted implementing a voluntary price freeze on basic necessities and prime commodities.
So iba-iba po yung start date ng mga manufacturers. Depende po kung kailan sila nag-abiso sa DTI. Pero in general po, yung iba po dito effective until July 10, yung iba naman po effective until June 30, iba-iba po yung effectivity dates nila.
This measure aims to assist consumers and control price hikes amid the impending La Nina phenomenon. This will also ensure the stability of supply for essential goods. Items covered by the voluntary price freeze include processed meat items, processed milk items, bottled water, instant noodles, and others. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Creslin Catarong, SMNI News.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, has extended for 1 week grace period for e-bikes and e-trikes traversing the national roads. However, the MMDA warns that starting next week, unregistered units and drivers without licenses will be impounded. Jason Rubrico tells us more.
The grace period granted by the Office of the President for e-trikes, e-bikes, and other similar light vehicles traveling on national roads has lapsed on May 18. For the past month, the MMDA has refrained from issuing tickets or impounding units caught on major roads. Now that the grace period has ended, will the MMDA start enforcing regulations?
Upon consultations po sa ating team, itutuloy lang po muna rin natin yung pagtataboy dito sa mga pangunahing lansangan na ito for 1 more week as part ng inisyatibo na rin natin para suportahan po yung kautosan ng Pangulo na mag-educational campaign pa at inform yung public.
MMDA Acting Chairman Romando Artes stated that their personnel will continue to remind drivers of e-vehicles like e-bikes and e-trikes, as well as tricycles, pedicabs, pushcarts, and kuligligs not to use national, circumferential, and radial roads. According to the MMDA, the 1 week extension will allow owners and drivers of e-vehicles and other light vehicles to register their units or obtain a driver's license. The agency warns that those who fail to comply will face penalties.
Ang i-impound lang naman is either walang lisensya and walang rehistro. Ganun na po mangyayari next week kung hindi sila magko-comply.
Artes also emphasized the importance of having a driver's license, especially since they have received reports of minors driving e-trikes, which he said is very dangerous.
More likely, hindi nila alam yung mga traffic rules and regulation. and yung kanilang maturity to drive vehicles ay hindi pa siguro ganoon ka taas na delikado hindi lamang doon sa nagmamaneho, kundi pati doon sa mga pedestrians at sa ibang mga sasakyan tulad na nagbibisikleta.
Local government units in Metro Manila have conducted extensive information drives on alternative routes that can be taken. Meanwhile, units impounded last month on the first day of implementation have been released without fines for the violators.
For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SMNI News.
Former Chief Presidential Legal Counsel, Attorney Salvador Panelo, questions why ex-PDEA agent Jonathan Morales is being demonized and held in contempt in Senate hearing on PDEA leaks. Carlo de la Peña reports.
If the intention of the committee by citing this Morales in contempt is to picture him as a liar and hence yung mga sinasabi niya on the PDEA document is false, may problema sila ron.
Former Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Attorney Salvador Panelo seems to be suspicious on the outcome of the fourth hearing related to the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA leaks issue. Panelo said it would be difficult to refute all the things said by former PDEA agent Jonathan Morales because he himself proved that the pre-ops document implicates President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in illegal drug use.
Because whether they like it or not, the perception now, rightly or wrongly, tama man o mali, ang perception ng tao nagsasabi ng totoo yan. Kaya may problema pa rin. Kahit ay pakulong niya yan, ang tao naniwala na tama ang sinasabi niya.
The former palace official also can't understand why Morales was being maligned as he just shared the information he got from a confidential informant.
Anong kasinungalingan doon? He's just relating a story. He wasn't even accusing the president of anything. Moreover, as I said, hindi nga natuloy yung raid. So, yung perception na nagtitake siya ng drug, kung basis mo lang yon, ay mali rin yun.
Attorney Panelo once again advised President Bongbong Marcos to address the allegations hurled against him.
Kaya nga sinasabi ko, para ma-resolve na yan, gaya ng ginawa ng malalaking heads of state ng dalawang bansa, Canada and America. Umamin. Hindi naman naapektuhan eh. Kasi nga yung performance talaga. Your performance will not depend on whether you have taken drugs or not, or whether you're taking it or not. Now, your performance will be judged on the basis of what you're doing for the country. Doon ka nila huhusgahan. Maniwala kayo.
For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
The search for Iran's next president is underway with elections set for next month as the sudden demise of Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi sparked the need to appoint a successor. Melchizedek Cadiz has the report.
Assalamu alaikum. Iran's constitution requires choosing a successor within 50 days after the president's death, with elections set on the 28th of June. Iran's first vice president Mohammad Mukber was appointed the acting president after Ibrahim Raisi's death due to a helicopter crash on Sunday. As the first vice president, he was expected to take over in the event of the president's death, dismissal, resignation, absence or illness for more than 2 months based on Article 131 of the Islamic Republic's Constitution. The next elected president on June 28th will run the country for 4 years. Raisi was elected the 8th president of Iran in 2021. World leaders including Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping expressed condolences for Raisi's death along with other high-ranking officials. While world leaders showed sympathy over Raisi's death, videos of several Iranians celebrating his demise went viral online. Some Iranians who oppose his rule launched fireworks to celebrate his death. A group of Iranians were also seen dancing in front of Iran's embassy in London. The decades-old helicopter manufactured by the US crashed in a mountainous terrain near the Azerbaijan border on Sunday. Rescuers retrieved the remains of the charred aircraft on Monday without any signs of life. Registration of candidates ends on the 3rd of June, while the election campaign period will be from the 12th through the 27th of June. Reporting from Kuwait, I am Melchizedek Cadiz, your global citizen correspondent for Garden for our beloved country, the Philippines.
The leaders of the United Arab Emirates offered sincere condolences after the president of Iran and other high-ranking Iranian officials died from a tragic helicopter crash this past weekend. Gratiro Omori reports.
World leaders, including those in the UAE, expressed their sympathies as news of Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi's untimely death sent shockwaves to the international community. News of his death spread across the world like wildfire. Emirati leaders instructed the UAE embassy in Iran to provide assistance and be prepared to provide support on search and rescue operations. Following the news of Raisi's death, high-ranking Emirati leaders such as the UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, as well as Vice President and Minister of the UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, extended their condolences and sympathies to the government of Iran and the grieving families. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei declared 5 days of mourning and appointed First Vice President Mohammad Mokbel as the interim president until elections are held. Other world leaders who extended sympathies were Russian President Vladimir Putin, who praised the Iranian leader as an outstanding politician and a true friend of Russia. Meanwhile, China's President Xi Jinping said that the Chinese people have lost a good friend after Raisi's death. European Council President Charles Michel also expressed his sincere condolences on behalf of the European Union. Before his death, the 63-year-old late president was projected to replace 85-year-old Ayatollah Ali Khamenei as the supreme leader of Iran. 60-year-old Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian was among the casualties. Raisi had been on his way back from Azerbaijan, where he met his Azerbaijani counterpart Ilham Aliyev during the inauguration of a joint border dam. The helicopter carrying the late president and other officials was forced to make a hard landing due to heavy fog while passing through a mountainous terrain in northwest Iran near the Azerbaijan border on Sunday. The U.S.-manufactured helicopter that transported Raisi is believed to have been decades old. The sanctions imposed by Washington about 45 years ago have made it difficult for the Islamic Republic to obtain new aircraft or aircraft parts. Iran witnessed more than 200 plane crashes and over 3,000 deaths since 1979, with either poor visibility or technical faults blamed for the accidents. Israel denied involvement in the tragic incident amid escalating tensions with its archenemy. Reporting from Dubai, I'm Gratiro Omori, your global citizen correspondent for SMNI News Channel.
Up next, in the Philippines, former Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea refuted claims of a gentleman's agreement on the West Philippine Sea between former President Rodrigo Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Meanwhile, Senate Majority Leader Francis Tolentino confirmed that 15 senators have signed to install Senator Chiz Escudero as Senate President. Escudero admitted initiating steps to remove Zubiri from the Senate presidency. And also in the headlines, the ICC Prosecutor seeks arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister and several Hamas leaders. Newsline World will be back for after the break.
Abangan ng Banateros tuwing Lunes hanggang Huwebes, live dito lang sa SMNI.
Yan ang Banatero, walang inuurungan. Pag tama palakpakan, pag mali ay babanatan. Yan ang
Kung akong tatanungin, kahit saang aspeto, gusto ko garantisado. Metikuloso akong tao, kaya gusto ko lahat maayos at sigurado. Lahat quality, yung hindi ako makukompromiso pero sulit ang presyo. Ganyan ang clean fuel, kaya dito panatag ang loob ko. mo ng dekalidad na gasolina pero sulit ang halaga, mag-clean fuel ka.
Kibuloy is a threat to peace and order in the country.
Father, you have ordained leaders for the development, prosperity of our country, no matter what. The scriptures are very clear. And the scriptures tells us to put them up in supplications and prayers, that they may do the right thing, that they may guide our nation towards peace and development and prosperity.
Before I become extinct, I'd like to say to you, talagang you are the son of God.
Former cabinet members of the Duterte administration have spoken out regarding the alleged gentleman's agreement. Here's the report from Jade Calabroso.
Do you swear to tell the truth? On the second day of the joint investigation of the House Committee on National Defense and Security and the Special Committee on the West Philippine Sea this Tuesday, May 21, former cabinet members of the Duterte administration appeared after missing the first day of the hearing. These include former Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea, former Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, and former National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon Jr. The three officials emphasized that they were not avoiding the House hearing and explained why they missed the initial session on Monday.
First, I would like to extend my apologies for being unable to attend the initial hearing yesterday. I received the letter invitation on a Friday, May 17. I had to attend to previously set engagement on May 20 yesterday. Contrary to some statements that we were avoiding this inquiry, we wrote this honorable body explaining our predicament, why we cannot attend the initial inquiry.
Like the former executive secretary, I also apologize for not coming here yesterday because I've been away for a week last week, and when I came back, a lot of work was waiting for me at the office.
It is indeed my pleasure and honor to attend this meeting.
I could have attended yesterday if I got an invitation. It seems that I was not traced by the Secretariat. It's good that the Honorable Chairperson Chairman Tupas, sent me an email through his staff. And I promptly answered last night that I will attend to today after our stockbrokers meeting, stockholders meeting today.
During the hearing, Medialdea clarified that there was no gentleman's agreement between former President Duterte and President Xi following their 8 meetings from 2016 to 2018.
In my capacity as Executive Secretary, I was able to attend 2 of the official meetings between former President Duterte and President Xi. First was the state visit of President Xi in the Philippines sometime in November 2018, and the second was on the official visit of President Duterte to China in August 2019. Secretary Locsin was present in all those meetings. Of these 2 official meetings I attended, no gentleman's agreement ever took place between former President Duterte and President Xi.
He added that the Duterte administration only continued what the Aquino administration had agreed upon with China in 2013 under former Defense Secretary Voltaire Gazmin. This agreement was to supply only food and water to the military troops stationed at BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal and not to repair the rusting World War II warship.
The decision on the West Philippine Sea dispute came out on July 12, barely 12 days after the Duterte administration assumed office. The status quo at the Ayungin Shoals, where BRP Sierra Madre, a dilapidated warship, has served as a Philippine military outpost in a low elevation reef since 1999, was in a 2013 commitment of former Defense Secretary Gazmin to the Chinese Ambassador Ma Keqing that he would only deliver food and water to the Marines stationed at the vessel. There was no commitment on the repairs of the vessel, sir.
According to former Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, the water cannon incident at Ayungin Shoal began in 2021 due to China's belief that the Philippines was bringing repair materials to BRP Sierra Madre. He said he continued to engage in dialogue with Chinese ambassador to the Philippines Wang Zilian to ease tensions.
Now, with the gentleman's agreement, this came out only when Ambassador Huang started talking about this agreement later on, I think early last year, about agreement. But he mentioned this to me during the first incident of the water cannon incident in Ayungin Shoal in November of 2021. I remember very well because I was talking to him that night about he was complaining about needs supply and strengthening of the Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal. And while we were talking pala at that night, they were already bombarding our supply ship with water cannons. So I wrote to him the following day with protesting the action of that.
Former National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon Jr. also maintained that there was no secret agreement between former President Duterte and President Xi following the leaders' meetings.
But I'm not really sure what gentleman's agreement we are talking about here unless we hear the report of the source of the report itself. Because when we had the bilaterals on October 19, on the 18th, we traveled from Brunei to China. So the bilaterals was on the 19th.
Okay.
So I did not hear anything about an agreement except an open discussion of what the president wanted to tell the Chinese side, which is mostly on the just promulgated arbitral ruling. The bilaterals ended up in that tune where there was an understanding that our president has presented the result of the arbitral ruling, and it was again, as we all know, that China did not recognize the arbitral ruling. So that was it. There was no secret agreement.
Before the hearing ended, the congressman held an executive session with invited resource persons. Former Defense Secretary Gasmin and former presidential spokesperson Attorney Harry Roque, who initially mentioned the alleged gentleman's agreement, have been invited to the next House hearing. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Jade Calabroso, SMNA News.
Senate Majority Leader Francis Tolentino confirms that 15 senators have signed to install Senator Chiz Escudero as Senate President. Among those who signed are the PDP-Laban senators like Senator Bato, Dela, Rosa. Meanwhile, Escudero admits that took the first step to remove Zubiri from the Senate presidency. Margaret Gonzalez files his report.
Senate President Chiz Escudero secured 15 majority votes from the circulated resolution for leadership change, according to the new Majority Floor Leader, Senator Francis Tolentino. Among those who signed are the PDP-Laban senators, including Senator Christopher Bongo and even Senator Bato de Rosa, who was praised by Zubiri yesterday for his support. Tolentino denies that the Senate will be a rubber stamp of Malacanang, despite reports that the palace plays a role in the Senate leadership.
Hindi siguro. It has to be proven, pero hindi siguro rubber stamp ang Senate. Nakita nyo, ni sinabi si Senate President kahapon na i-stop nga niya muna yung roadshow hearings ng economic provisions, di ba? Is that a sign of being a rubber stamp?
Senate President Escudero refuses to engage with Senator Zubiri's remarks regarding the change in Senate leadership.
Tulad ng sinabi ko, mananatili akong, tulad ng higayati ko sa mga kasamahan ko sa Senado, mananatili akong may pasensya at kalmado kaugnay sa mga bagay na ito at ibang bagay pa darating.
He mentioned that each senator has their own reasons for the leadership change. Escudero said that under his leadership, the Senate shall not interfere with the House affairs and vice versa. The Senate and House shall also avoid making personal tirades.
Una ko, equal ang Senado at ang Kamara. Hindi dapat nagpapakialaman habang pinagtatanggol ko ang kapangyarihan, karapatan at prerogatives ng Senado. Hindi rin natin dapat pakialaman ang Kamara at kung anumang diskurso at debate meron sa pagitan ng Kamara, sa pagitan namin sa loob ng Senado at sa pagitan ng mga mababatas. Sana panatilihin pa rin yung tamang level ng diskurso at hindi bumaba sa personal.
Meanwhile, Senator De La Rosa explained why he signed the resolution for the change in Senate leadership.
Ang mas mabigat na rason dyan talaga is that among us three magkabats na PDP senators, Senator Bongo, Senator Tolentino, and myself, we forged a covenant na majority wins. In every voting situation, talagang kung lalabas sa voting is 2 against 1, obligado yung 1 sumunod doon sa 2, sumama sa 2. So, in this case, nangyari silang dalawa talaga ay nag-decide na sumuporta kay Senator Chiz Escudero. Ako ay naiwan. I want to stay with, ayaw ko sana. Pero, yun nga, may usapan kami na obligado sumama.
De La Rosa clarified that even before Escudero's group approached him, they already had enough votes, which was around 14. De La Rosa also mentioned that like Zubiri, he too was heartbroken about it. He even apologized to Zubiri.
Being a good soldier, I would like to convey the message to him that my commander, I'm so sorry. We lost the war. I failed to win the war for you. Nahiya ako sa kanya. Dahil hindi ko napanalo yung gira para sa kanya.
He said he feels guilty about the circulating news that the Senate hearing on the PDP leaks is the reason for Zubiri's removal as Senate President. Meanwhile, Senator Jingo Estrada stated that Escudero was the first to call him about his desire to become the Senate President.
I received a call from Senator Escudero
3 days ago before, 3 days ago. And he wanted to talk to me personally, so I agreed to talk to him. And he intimated to me that he was interested in the Senate presidency. And then, of course, I was asking a lot of questions, and I agreed.
Escudero admitted that he took the initiative to replace Zubiri. The senators who supported Escudero were Alan Peter Cayetano, Pia Cayetano, Ronald De La Rosa, Cinco Estrada, Senator Bongo, Lito Lapid, Amy Marcos, Bong Revilla Jr., Francis Tolentino, Rafi Tulfo, Robin Padilla, Grace Poe, Cynthia Villar, and Mark Villar. While 6 senators remained loyal to Zubiri, namely Senators Loren Ligarda, Joel Villanueva, Senator Sani Angara, Nancy Binay, Sherwin Gatchalian, and J.V. Ejercito. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Margaret Gonzalez, SMNI News.
The pursuit by the Special Action Force, or SAF, continues against the rebels who fled after the commandos engaged in a clash with approximately 10 members of the CTGs in Camarines Sur. Val Divina Gracia has a story.
The Special Action Force troops encountered around 9 members of the Communist Terrorist Group from Platoon 1, Guerrilla Front Committee 1, Sub-Regional Committee 2, led by Vergel Balcueva, alias Joey. The encounter took place on Monday, May 20th, in Barangay Gibahonoy, Lagonoy, Camarines Sur, while the government troops were patrolling near their established patrol base. The clash resulted in the death of 1 CTG member and the recovery of various combat equipment. There were no reported injuries in the government side. The death of a member of the Communist Terrorist Group was confirmed by Police Major Cristel Joy Asim, Public Information Officer of the Special Action Force, in an interview with SMNI News.
So, nagkaroon po ng encounter between the members po ng CTG or tinatawag natin Communist Terrorist Group with our personnel po from 9th Special Action Battalion and Rapid Deployment Battalion at yung Commando Corps 123 natin. So, meron pong isang dead po on the enemy side.
At present, the authorities have yet to identify the deceased rebel as the SAF troops continue their hot pursuit operation to locate the fleeing comrades. Additionally, nearby combat groups have been alerted to set up blockades on potential escape routes of the fleeing rebels and to provide possible reinforcements to fellow operatives. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this is Val Divina Gracia, SMNI News.
The International Criminal Court prosecutor seeks the arrest of the Israeli Prime Minister and Hamas leaders for alleged war crimes against humanity following the outbreak of war in Gaza. Angel Pastor files this report.
International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan Casey announced that they have applied for arrest warrants against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and 3 Hamas leaders. Khan stated that there are reasonable grounds to hold these leaders responsible for war crimes against humanity committed on October 7, 2023. The Hamas leaders also sought for arrest include Yahya Sinwar in Gaza, as well as Ismail Haniyeh and Mohammed Al-Mazri. Khan emphasized that both sides are responsible for the events, citing the attacks on Israel by Hamas and the war crimes and crimes against humanity committed by Israel in the state of Palestine in the Gaza Strip.
My office submits that these individuals, through a common plan, have systematically deprived the civilian population of Gaza of objects indispensable to human survival.
Meanwhile, Netanyahu did not appreciate this and insisted that their actions against Hamas are a just war.
The outrageous decision by the ICC Prosecutor, Karim Khan, to seek arrest warrants against the democratically elected leaders of Israel is a moral outrage of historic proportions. It will cast an everlasting mark of shame on the international court. Israel is waging a just war against Hamas. The ICC has no jurisdiction over Israel, and Mr. Khan's actions will not stop us from waging our just war against Hamas. But Mr. Khan's abuse of this authority will turn the ICC into nothing more than a farce.
Netanyahu added that Khan's moral equivalence between Israel and Hamas is twisted and wrong, calling it an affront to justice.
Mr. Khan creates a twisted and false moral equivalence between the leaders of Israel and the henchmen of Hamas. This is like creating a moral equivalence after September 11th between President Bush and Osama bin Laden, or during World War II between FDR and Hitler. What a travesty of justice, what a disgrace.
The Israeli Prime Minister assured that their war would continue in accordance with international law.
Israel will continue to wage this war in full compliance with international law. We will continue to take unprecedented measures to get innocent civilians out of harm's way and to ensure that humanitarian assistance reaches those in need in Gaza.
U.S. President Biden issued a statement against the ICC, calling this step outrageous. Meanwhile, the Israeli offensive has claimed the lives of over 35,000 Palestinians. The war between Israel and Hamas has been ongoing for 7 months since the attack on October 7th. Reporting, this has been Angel Pastor, SMNI News.
South Korea and the United States started talks on sharing the cost of keeping American troops in the East Asian nation. Kim Sung tells us more.
Negotiations in defense cost sharing between South Korea and the United States kicked off in Hawaii this week. The second round of talks started on Tuesday and ended on Thursday. The 3-day meeting will determine how much South Korea should shoulder for keeping at least 28,500 U.S. forces stationed in the country starting in 2026. Consultations on reasonable defense cost sharing between the two countries will be the focus of the talks. The first round of talks also took place in Hawaii last month. South Korea expects that the new agreement should come at a reasonable level, while the U.S. Embassy in Seoul said the contributions serve as a powerful investment in U.S.-South Korea relations. Under the current Special Measures Agreement, or SMA, South Korea agreed to raise the payment for the deployment of American troops in the country by 13.9% from 2019 to $1.03 billion for 2021. The current 6-year agreement is due to expire in 2025 and is claimed to protect the country from neighboring North Korea. Both sides scrambled to discuss the cost-sharing deal, despite the agreement not expiring until 20 months from now, ahead of the potential return of former U.S. President Donald Trump to the White House after the November 2024 elections. Under Trump's presidency, Washington demanded that South Korea pay more than a 5-fold increase of $5 billion to keep American troops stationed in the country. The U.S. military has maintained a strong presence in South Korea since the end of the Korean War. Approximately 28,500 American troops are currently stationed in the East Asian nation. Reporting from South Korea, I am Kim Sung, your global citizen correspondent for God in our beloved country, the Philippines.
Indonesia is preparing to start construction of 2 attack submarines after signing a multi-billion-dollar defense contract with a French company last month. Anissa de Guzman with the story.
State-owned shipbuilder PT-PAL Indonesia will partner with French defense company Naval Group for the construction of 2 Scorpion-evolved submarines. Indonesia's state-owned shipbuilder signed the contract with the French firm on the 28th of March with a total cost of $2.16 billion. The 2 attack submarines will be built in the country's shipyard complex in Surabaya City, East Java. The French government also gave the signal for the Indonesian government to equip the military aircraft with submarine-launched missiles and unmanned underwater vehicles, UUVs. The Indonesian Navy hopes to receive the 2 attack submarines within 8 years of the contract's effective date. The Scorpion-evolved submarines have a maximum diving capability of 80 days, an operational capability at sea of 240 days per year, and can be equipped with up to 18 missile and torpedo weapons. The Indonesian Navy has put forward a proposal to acquire 4 additional new submarines scheduled for acquisition between 2025 to 2039. Reporting from Thailand, I'm Anissa de Guzman, your global citizen correspondent for God in our beloved country, the Philippines.
Up next, the leaders of the United Arab Emirates have extended their sincere condolences after the following tragic death of the president of Iran and several other high-ranking Iranian officials in a helicopter crash this past weekend. Australia and New Zealand began evacuating nationals from New Caledonia on Tuesday, with government planes arriving in the French territory, which has experienced a week of injurious riots. And Thai authorities caution that the persistent civil unrest in Myanmar could potentially trigger an influx of drugs into neighboring Thailand. This warning follows the interception by police of a shipment containing 6 million amphetamine pills in the northern Thai province of Chiang Rai. Newsline World will be back with more news.
Kami pong dalawa ni Pastor ay naniniwala na dapat tapusin na ang armed struggle dito sa Pilipinas. Katulad po ng sinabi ni Tatay Digong, ang kailangan natin sa bansang ito ay law and order. At iyan po ang ipinaglaban ni Pastor Kibuloy. Sa kanyang pinaglaban, siya po ay dumadaan sa isang pakikibaka na hindi natin siya iiwan. Hindi natin pwedeng iwan ang taong nagsakripisyo sa bayan.
Mahal ko po kayong lahat. Pagpalain natin ang ating bansang Pilipinas. Pagpalain tayo ng ating muting Diyos. Pagpalain at ibigay natin ang lahat ng kapangyarihan sa Kanya. At tandaan ninyo ito, hindi mananaig ang kadiliman sa bansang ito habang may boses na ganito.
Justicia! 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 Justicia!
Sabi nga nila, di ba? You will know them by their love. Yun ang sinabi sa Biblia. It's not on how good you are in quoting the scripture. It's giving love.
Grabe, hindi talaga kasya yung words eh. Kung paano natin i-express yung ating na-experience.
Mismo wala akong masabi. Kita ko kasi yung pagiging generous. Alam mo, madali kasi magsalita ng Diyos eh. Pero pagdating sa pera, pagdating sa pagiging generous, yung pagtulong sa iba, hindi biro yun. Maraming bagsak dyan. Maraming bagsak. Kaya ako nakikita ko yung pagiging generous niya. Hindi sa salita eh. Sa lakad. Bilib ako. Hindi dakda. Nakita mo sa gawa. In one word, authentic.
Problema nyo, itawag kay Panelo. Ikaw ba'y may suliranin na may kinalaman sa mga ahensya ng ating pamahalaan? Inihahandog ng SMNI ang programang makakapiling ninyo sa araw-araw na maaring ninyong maging daingan. Tampok ang dating Chief Legal Counsel ng nakaraang Pangulo, ang veteranong abogado na si Attorney Salvador Sal Panelo.
Bishops.
Tulong at payo tagapamagitan sa ating mga lingkod bayan. Problema nyo, itawag kay Panelo. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 9 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga. Dito lamang sa SMNI. Ang totoong boses ng bayan.
Kanang inyong mga cellphone, pagbantay mo sa inyong mga isultihan na mo sa una. Pornography is a spiritual adultery. Kanang pornography, labaw pa na sa shabu. Madaot imong uto ka na, labi na kung ikaw niya ka sa kingdom ministry, pahingon taglangit, mo na imong kalaban. Because it will destroy everything that was implanted to you spiritually that will let you go to heaven. Pornography is the number one missile of the enemy that will destroy you and your soul to hell. Ayaw jud mo pagtanaw pornography, babaeng lalaki sa inyo. What is dangerous now with cell phones? You can go into the privacy of your room and look at your cell phone without anyone. Only God knows what are you looking at. And mostly, people go to the dark side of the door going to destruction to hell. And that is pornography. It destroys the mind. It destroys the soul. It destroys your spirit.
The Secretary of the Agriculture Department has ordered an investigation into the reported modus operandi where seized smuggled agricultural products are allegedly diverted back to the owners instead of being destroyed and discarded. Sheena Torno reports.
Every administration aims to combat the rampant entry of contraband or illegally imported agriculture products into the country. This significantly reduces the potential revenue for the government if only all products entering the country were legally imported. Therefore, the Agriculture Department has been tasked with addressing this issue. The Department of Agriculture Inspectorate and Enforcement Team was created to oversee the resolution of this long-standing problem of the government. Billions of pesos worth of smuggled products have been seized in any administration. However, according to an anonymous source, seized products from anti-agriculture smuggling operations are allegedly being diverted. In an ambush interview, Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chula Jr. admitted that he received reports about this.
That is our initial findings. Pero from as far as the last few months na kino-condemn are concerned, lahat naman na na-condemn ng properly. Ang nakatutok na ating enforcement unit.
DA spokesperson Assistant Secretary Arnel de Mesa said that the agency has suggestions to ensure that seized illegal products go through the proper process.
Suggestion ng position ni Secretary, sana bigyan ng authority ang DA for condemnation. DA na ang mag-condemn ng lahat ng nahuhuli na mga agri-products para kasi ngayon, inaano pa yun may third party pa na nagko-condemn, nagsusunog. So, para maiwasan na yung naging problema, di ba? Nada-divert pa.
But according to the Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura or SINAG, reports that seized smuggled agricultural products are returned to their owners has long been a problem. Rosendo So, president of SINAG, also suspects that seized products might end up in the market. For him, this is a significant problem, especially if consumers unknowingly eat contraband products.
Food safety, no? Kasi ibig sabihin, ito is expired or not for human consumption na. Tapos, pinabalik. Hindi masyadong properly handled itong produkto kung kakainin ng consumer. Mapapasama yan sigurado. Yung mga iluluto kung naluto, hindi naman makita lahat. Diba? So, ang tingin natin is dapat ingatan itong mga produktong ito dahil mapapasama sa ating mga consumer.
He added, there's a solution to stop this illegal activity.
Kaya kailangan talaga na may facility na ito is isira, no? Ma-condemn yung mga produkto para at least alam natin kung saan dinadala itong mga condemned na materials.
Rosendo So emphasized that seized products, especially if proven smuggled, should be destroyed and discarded. the proper process should involve burying or burning the meat. However, the DA chief wants to establish a condemnation facility to properly dispose of illegally imported agriculture products.
Ang DA na matondem ng lahat ng mga produkto na bahuli sa field na tiligan or manamang may sakit na mga kontrafamily para wala nang kalokohan mangyayari dyan.
Meanwhile, the statement of Department of Agriculture Secretary Laurel extending the importation ban on onions until July, initially said to end in late May, is a welcome development for onion farmers. Laurel said this is due to an oversupply of onions stored in cold storage because of the good production. Additionally, prices of onions in the market remains affordable to consumers. But according to Connie, prices of onions in Commonwealth Market in Quezon City is gradually increasing.
Medyo tumaas po. Like nung mga nakaraang buwan, yung March, mababa pa yung sibuyas. Nasa 50, 60 ganyan. Pero ngayon, 80 na. 80 yung medium.
Efren Alvarez, an onion farmer from Nueva Ecija, is concerned about what might happen after July when the importation ban ends. He fears that the Department of Agriculture might claim a shortage of onion supply in the country.
So, nagkakaroon ng kulay-bang between DA at saka doon sa mga importer. Nakakakawas, nagpapabricate sila ng mga data na hindi naman actual. Sana ibase sa stock level dahil kasi meron naman to tayong monthly consumption kung magkano kung ilang bagang kinakain natin Sana ganun po ang gawin ng DA at saka BPI.
For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, speaking at a Jewish Heritage Month celebration in Washington, D.C., U.S. President Joe Biden has denounced the International Criminal Court, or ICC Prosecutor's decision to seek arrest warrants for Israeli leaders. This follows the ICC's move to pursue arrest warrants for Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Gallant alongside Hamas leaders on war crimes charges. Netanyahu condemned the ICC's order as absurd and false, while Hamas criticized the ICC for equating victims with aggressors.
And it's clear Israel wants to do all it can to ensure civilian protection. But let me be clear. Contrary to allegations against Israel made by the International Court of Justice, what's happening is not genocide. We reject that. We will always stand with Israel and the threats against its security.
A panel of ICC judges will review the request. Although neither Israel nor the U.S. is a member of the ICC, the decision could severely restrict the travel of those involved to any of the 124 countries that are party to the court, including key allies like the UK and Germany. Australia and New Zealand started evacuating their citizens from New Caledonia as deadly clashes escalated in the French territory for more than a week now. Trisha Molina has the report.
The mission to bring home stranded Australians and New Zealanders from New Caledonia has started. Both countries sent airplanes to the violence-hit French South Pacific territory on Tuesday. Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong said French authorities gave Australia the go signal to send 2 aircraft to evacuate citizens from the archipelago. A Royal Australian Air Force C-130 Hercules that can carry 124 passengers arrived at New Caledonia's capital Noumea on Tuesday. New Zealand also sent a plane to the French territory to evacuate 50 citizens. An estimated 300 Australians or more reside in New Caledonia, according to the Department of Foreign Affairs. Electoral changes made by the French government that will allow thousands of non-Indigenous residents to vote in local elections sparked the unrest last week. The Indigenous Kanak people, who make up about 40% of the population in New Caledonia, argued the proposed electoral changes would remove the political influence of Native people. Videos of charred vehicles and closed roads in New Caledonia flooded social media as police and special forces struggled to regain control of the highway to the international airport blocked by the protesters. The death toll rose to 6 on Thursday, while more than 200 people have been arrested. The international airport in the capital remains closed, causing thousands of flights to get cancelled and tourists stranded in the archipelago. French President Emmanuel Macron declared a state of emergency last week and deployed 1,000 security forces in the overseas territory. Reporting, this has been Trisha Molina, SMNI News.
The ongoing civil war in Myanmar triggered cross-border smuggling of illegal drugs to Thailand as rebel groups found more ways to raise funds for their efforts against the ruling junta. Chatbongkong Pisamay Goson reports.
The Thai military witnessed a surge in the number of narcotics entering Thailand's border amid renewed clashes between Myanmar's military junta and ethnic armed militias. Known locally as Yaba, about 15 million methamphetamine tablets were seized by the Thai military, the police, and anti-narcotics officials on Monday alone. The narcotics were seized in 3 provinces. Thai military sources said cases of cross-border drug smuggling have increased as anti-junta ethnic forces desperately look for money to fund their activities. In Chiang Mai province, a brief gunfight ensued after Thai forces from the 3rd Army Region encountered a group of 6 men carrying backpacks that contained a total of 1.2 million meth pills. The smugglers successfully escaped the border but abandoned the backpack full of narcotics. In December, Thai authorities seized 50 million methamphetamine tablets near the country's border with Myanmar. The seized narcotics, estimated up to 1.5 billion baht in street value, was the second highest meth bust in Asia, according to the Southeast Asia Regional Representative for the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Myanmar became the world's largest producer of opium in 2023 and has smuggled billions worth of drugs to neighboring Thailand. Together with Laos, the 3 countries sit at the so-called Golden Triangle, which has been named one of the world's largest opium-producing areas since the 1950s. Reporting from Thailand, I'm Chatbongkong Pisamay Goson, your Global Citizens correspondent for SMNI News Channel.
Several member states of the European Union have proposed starting membership negotiations for Ukraine and Moldova next month. Trisha Molina is back for more news.
Ukraine applied to join the EU shortly after the Russian invasion in February 2022. The bloc is aiming to start formal accession talks for Ukraine and Moldova as early as the 25th of June. The 27-nation EU took the historic step in December to open talks for potential membership for both countries. However, one of the main roadblocks to Ukraine's membership aspiration is Hungary, a close ally of Russia. Hungary opposes Ukraine's EU bid due to unresolved issues relating to Hungarian minorities in the war-torn country. Another possible roadblock for Ukraine is the formation of a new right-wing government in the Netherlands that is opposed to accepting new members and expansion of the bloc. EU's member states are required to sign a formal framework before starting negotiations for accession. Ukraine is also working on an ambitious plan to become the newest member of NATO. Reporting, this has been Trisha Molina, SMNI News.
And before we end, may be inspired with the words of the sun. The greater the trial, the greater the blessing. The greater the persecution, the greater the miracle. And that's all for this edition. For more news updates, you may visit smninewschannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I am Franco Baranda, and this is Newsline World.
Subscribe to SMNI News Channel and turn on the notification bell to keep you up to date. Also visit our official social media accounts and join our community on Viber and Telegram.